Judge, do you want the witness in or?
Yeah, keep coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, she can come.
Jury entering.
All right, very good. Be seated. Everyone, we'll continue. The court did rule on the last objection. The objection was sustained. Ask another question, Mr. Valinkas.
Ms. Kanarek, when I showed you D803, I had you make a marking as to where you were standing when you got shot with a pen that really didn't
Yes.
show anything. So I got a Sharpie, I'm gonna ask you to make an X where you were standing on D803. Okay, you can see that better, correct? Can you put on that diagram where Michael Barison was standing?
Yes, but there was a chair that's no longer there due to all this clutter, I guess.
So someone moved the chair, based on your recollection?
It's really good. The chair is actually still there,
Okay.
but it's not.
Well, just put where
Okay, so
Michael Barison was standing when he shot you, irrespective of this.
I do not see this chair here. It's like the bush is there.
Right?
So I don't know if this is allowed, but now that I see this chair where it is,
Right.
like I thought it was over there somewhere,
Right.
it's gone. Is it okay if I move this to just right there? Because that would be more accurate now that this chair, if
Let me-
you know, to put it up somewhere.
I don't want this to be confusing.
Okay, yeah, it is.
This one? They're both the same number, 803. Yeah.
803. I'm going to give you a new copy, so
Okay.
there's not a lot of different check marks on it.
Okay,
Okay, so on D803, can you please just put an X where you were standing
Okay.
when you got shot twice in the chest?
okay, so now that I see this. There.
Okay? And could you put a small MB depicting where Michael Barison was standing?
As best as possible, sure. Can I just make it up line to show like that person, or do you want to, how would you like it?
I'll just put what counsel asked you to put.
Just put a small
Oh,
MB.
small MB, okay. I'm sorry. Insert.
All right, but before you go, just so the record is clear, I want the witness, Ms. Kanarek, to mark today's date and put her initials so we know in the future who marked the photograph, and there's no question about it. It's the 31st, I believe.
It's the
Okay.
31st.
Oh, there's, just 20%.
I think it's the 31st.
Yes.
Yes, all right.
20%.
Okay?
Wait, yeah, it still looks like it too. Sorry about that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Now, do you notice in this diagram that there's a telephone on that table, right where this shooting took place?
I didn't notice, not in that picture, no.
Was Michael
Well,
Barisone?
hold on a second.
When you first came down to speak to Michael Barisone, did you notice that he was holding the phone?
No, he's not.
At any point in time prior to the shooting, did you observe Michael Barisone holding his telephone?
No, he's not.
Now, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, he was standing where you've put an MB, correct?
Correct.
You were standing where you put this little star, correct?
Correct.
And it's your testimony that he fired 2 shots, one right after the other, correct?
Correct.
And then from that same position, a shot towards your boyfriend.
Correct.
All 3 within a matter of seconds, correct?
Correct.
And the whole time that the shooting took place, you were holding his phone, Rob's phone,
Yes.
and you were on the line with your civil lawyer, correct?
Yes, he was on the line, correct.
On August 4th, did you send Michael Barisone that you were going to send people that he didn't know to the farm to ride your horses?
I did.
And did you also tell him that you were going to be having an elderly person and an infant move into his house while you were away?
No, I did not say that. They were going to be moving in anywhere. That I recall.
Do you recall saying, words to the effect, one may be a child whom you already met, along with his grandma. When I decide for sure, I'll surely let you know. Did you send that text to him?
Yes.
No, just straight that. Now, were you aware of the fact that Ruth Cox had a gun?
I don't believe before
Before the shooting?
I was not aware that she 100% had a gun, no. I thought she might have, but I didn't know for sure.
Do you recall telling the Morris County Prosecutor's Office
Mr. Malenkas, before we do that, can I see you at the bench, please? All right, based on the court's ruling, Mr. Malenkas, you can rephrase your question.
Thank you. You just indicated, did you not, that you weren't sure if Ruth had a gun, correct?
I was not positive, correct.
Okay.
What, I'm sorry, are you talking about in August or at any point in time?
Any point in time?
All right, that's the question, just so you understand, all right? Any point in time he's asking.
Okay.
Not specifically in August, just any point in time. Ask it that way, so now the witness knows what you're asking.
You know that Ruth has a gun, correct?
Correct.
And that she travels with her guns like a crazy freak, correct?
Are you asking if I said that? Or?
Yes.
Judge, I'm going to
Yeah,
object
again,
to the
Mr.
question.
Malenkas, that's not what we talked about.
Okay.
No, you're reading you can refresh your recollection,
Okay.
but not quote from that. That's
Okay.
not evidence.
All right.
That's not substantive evidence. If you think you need to refresh your recollection, you can do that by showing her the document as you've done before, and ask her if it refreshes her recollection. But I think she answered the question. She said she knows Ruth has a gun. Now ask a follow-up question. You don't have to quote from the transcript.
And you're aware of the fact that she always carries her guns with her, correct?
I don't think I'm aware that she always carries them, just that there's been times I know she's carried them, or
Again,
or whatever.
I'm going to show you, when you look at page 26,
Sure.
line 19, and if that refreshes your recollection,
I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, which page, 20?
page 26.
26.
26. Okay, and 19, did you say?
Yep, 19 and 20. And ask if that refreshes your recollection as to whether or not you were aware that Ruth Cock always travels with a gun.
I'm sorry, can I just have 1 second to read the?
Yes, go ahead, read it to yourself.
Thank you, sure.
Please.
Okay, and then can you just ask the question one more time after I've now read this? I'm so sorry. Just want to be clear.
Are you aware that Ruth always travels from where she lives to the farm with her guns?
No, I am not aware that she always travels with her guns.
Did you tell the prosecutor that she's not a person who had driven there overnight unarmed?
Okay, I'm sorry, wait a second.
19 and 20 line.
Yep, I know, I'm reading it, I'm sorry. So yes, that is the last part of that paragraph, correct.
So you were aware that she, based on your knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
traveled with weapons, correct?
That would be a correct statement.
Okay, now, let's go to the time period immediately before you walking down to talk to Michael Barisone on August 7th.
Oh, okay.
Number one, you were pissed, correct?
Yes,
You came stomping down towards him, correct?
Mr. Belenkas, are you reading from a transcript?
I'm asking a question, Judge.
Oh, why are you flipping the transcript? It looks like you're reading it. Don't do that. If you ask a question, ask it. A transcript is used to refresh recollection.
Did you come down stomping?
no,
Can you please look at page 28, line
Sure.
19? And tell me if it refreshes your recollection with regards to whether or not you came down stomping to talk to Michael Barisone.
I'm not exactly sure how to answer this question based on what I'm reading. Yes,
Okay?
I did say the words, I came stomping.
Okay, now, when you first had a conversation with Barisone, did you describe him as a crazy person to the prosecutor?
Yes, probably.
Now, before the shooting, is it not a fact that you never saw the gun prior to it being fired?
Prior to, that
The gun being fired.
I never saw it prior
You
to.
never saw it prior to the gun being fired.
I never saw it prior. I saw it just before it was fired.
Well, that's prior, correct?
Into my chest, yes.
Okay.
Saw it then.
Can you please go to page 32,
Okay,
lines 5 through, or 4 through 6, and ask
oh wait, 35, so I'm sorry. That goes on
32.
32,
Okay.
lines 4 to 6.
4 to 6, and ask if that refreshes your recollection as to whether or not you actually saw the gun prior to it being fired.
Yes, I saw the gun prior to it being fired.
Did you tell the prosecutor that you did not see the gun prior to it being fired?
Based on the lines you read, 8 through, I believe, 11.
4 through 6, I referred you to.
I'm sorry, this is just so all over the place. I'm sorry. I'm not really exactly sure.
Just read those lines to yourself,
Okay,
all right? And then Mr. Belinkus will ask if it refreshes your recollection
okay. Thank you.
about what you saw regarding the gun
Okay,
prior to the shooting.
okay. Thank you. So, yeah, I know. Yeah,
Is it in fact you told the prosecutor you did not see the gun prior to it being fired?
yes.
That's,
Judge, that's not what it says.
Well, you can clear it up on redirect. That's what it's for.
well, let's go to page, straight down. Did you ever see the weapon in his hand?
Yes.
Can you please go to page 33, lines 10 and 11, and see if that refreshes your recollection as to whether or not you ever saw a weapon in his hand.
I'm sorry, lines 10 and 11?
Yes, page 33, lines 10 and 11.
Okay.
Judge, while the witness is reviewing that, can we come to side?
Sure.
Did you tell the prosecutor that you never saw a weapon in his hand?
Yes.
How many shots did you tell the prosecutor he fired at you?
I honestly don't remember. I might have said 3, I might have said 5.
Wasn't this gone over yesterday? I believe it was.
I think she testified on direct to 3. Did you tell the prosecutor?
Hold on, Mr. Belinkus. Yeah, you showed her D200 and G, and we had you cross-examined her on whether it was 3, 4, or 5 shots.
And I'm asking her now if she told the prosecutor 5 shots.
No, Mr. Belinkus, it's been gone over already.
Now, Judge, there's a definitive statement later on. I can't get into that?
Well, you shouldn't characterize anything one way or the other. That's the first thing.
This is
But
her
But this is not, This one was over yesterday. You went through this yesterday.
And I'm going over with her statement with the prosecutor's office.
I'll allow a brief question on it, but do not get into the same ground we covered yesterday.
Did you say, so it may have been more, but definitely 5?
Actually, after watching the
No,
testimony.
hold on. The question is just, are you asking if it refreshes her recollection
Yes.
now?
Yes.
Well, should have asked that. The question is, in reading, and what's the page and line number, please? Because I don't think that was made clear to the witness.
Page 35, line 15.
Page
First
30,
two-
yeah.
First 2 words.
Just read that to yourself
Okay.
and tell me, does it refresh your recollection about the number of shots that were fired?
Yes.
How many shots were fired?
3 shots were fired.
Now, you just mentioned, after going over the testimony, did you look at or see anyone's testimony on YouTube or?
I saw my own testimony as I gave it to the police when I was shown the testimony.
Do you recall telling the police immediately after being shot, you disappeared?
I don't know what I said to the
Then
police.
we just went over this already, Mr. Belinkus. Move on to a different area. This is becoming repetitious now.
Now, Ms. Kanarek, you have or had access to Michael Barisone's personal office off of the club room, correct?
No, that is incorrect.
Did you ever go into Michael Barisone's office and take personal items?
No, never.
I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you what has been marked 200C-30.
Sure.
Ask you to read item 4844.
Who is this to?
Your boyfriend
Yeah.
and your dad.
Correct.
Does that refresh your recollection as to whether or not on July 11th, 2019, you had obtained access to Michael's office?
Yes. Yes.
And did you take any damaging materials from his personal office.
No, I did not.
Did you say you took damaging materials in this communication with your boyfriend and father?
No, I did not say that.
Did you say, I'm pretty good at locating damaging material. Now that I have access to Michael's office, I can write contracts, get his signature, whatever I need to do.
Yes.
Judge, I'm gonna ask that that be stricken. It's not responsive to the question, it's not impeachment.
All right, ask another question, Mr. Belenkus. Objection sustained.
Did there come a time when you became aware that Michael Barisone was going to install web cameras in and around the stable area?
And so was there a time that I became aware that he was going to?
Yes.
There was a time that I became aware that there was discussion that he would hopefully install cameras around the property.
Okay, and after you found that out, and I'm referring to August 2nd, 2019, did you intend to look for them and disable them?
Maybe.
And could you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury why you would want to disable Michael Barisone's cameras in the stable area?
I don't really have a reason, but I don't know the context either.
I'm going to show you Defense Exhibit 100C. C16, sorry.
You got an extra copy behind your seat.
I show you 100C-16.
Do you need this back?
Yeah, I'll take that. Can you look at 019?
No. Oh, that's a zero, right?
Yep.
Okay, so cut off. So all the ones that say 019,
No.
they're all listed as that.
Okay, so this one here. right here, up
Where
here.
there's like
Yep.
marks. I'm sorry, was your question, what was your question again about this?
Did
I-
you plan, after finding out
Judge,
that...
that was not what the question
Yeah.
was.
Let me see that sidewalk.
Take all this stuff.
Sure. Do you think
Yes. I'm gonna take this tape. Thank you.
All right, move on, Mr. Belinkus.
Judge, I have no further questions.
All right, we'll do redirect.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Kanarek, you still have that transcript in front of you?
No, you just took everything.
Judge, for the record, this is defendant's 200G.
And it being shown to the witness.
And you were asked a series of questions about, did you see the gun before you got shot, or did you not see the gun before you got shot? And I believe Mr. Belinkus had taken a line on page 33, line 10, if you could just turn to that.
Sure. Yes.
He asked you the question on line 10, if you were asked a question, so you never saw a weapon in his hand, and your answer was no.
Yep.
Is there context for that if we go
I
back?
believe he's testifying. I have no problem with him asking her as I
Well,
asked her.
just, yeah, Mr. Shellhorn, just.
I'm just directing her to
Right,
the page,
it's a,
Judge.
I understand, it's
I
a,
would ask that he not read it, Judge.
right, you can ask her, what did she say on so-and-so page and line so-and-so, as Mr. Belinkus does, to see if that refreshes her recollection about what she said on a later page or a page before. That's fine.
So that was on page 33, Ms. Kanarek?
Yes. line
I'm going to
10.
ask you to direct your attention back to page 30,
Sure.
which is 3 pages before. And I'm going to ask you to direct your attention to lines 8, 9, 10, and 11.
Yes.
Do you see those lines?
Yes, I can.
On lines 8 to 10, did Detective Rogers ask you a question?
He did.
What was the question he asked you?
Should I read it
Again,
out?
Judge, if
No, a
you-
question's fine. It's not, the question is not hearsay, it's a question. It's
He
not,
asked
it's not
me-
a statement. Go ahead.
So he asked me.
What
so
did he ask you?
He asked me, so when you were coming out and he was behind the bush and you couldn't see him, I said, oh.
Go ahead, and what was your answer?
I said, yeah.
And what did he ask you on lines 12 and 13?
He said, so you were walking toward him?
And what was your answer?
And I said, yes. I said, toward him.
So does that put in reference the point in time that we're talking about in the
Objection, he's
statement?
testifying.
No, I'll allow it.
Now, if I direct you ahead to page 31,
Yes.
are you still talking about the same context and about the same part of the incident?
Yes. Let me see.
In other words, the
What-
subject didn't change on page
No,
31,
no,
did
the
it?
subject didn't change.
Is there an
We're talking
objection?
No,
about
I'm trying to figure out the page in the law.
All right, what's the page number?
Just in general, I want to establish, Judge, that page 32, the subject didn't change. The point in time of the shooting was still where the defendant had pulled in, gotten out, and was standing by the bush.
Yes.
Now on page 32, were you asked a question by Detective Rogers on lines 4 and 5?
Yes.
What was the question?
Did you see, at that point, did you even see a gun or anything? You just,
And what was your answer on the next line?
no.
What was your answer on lines 8 through 11, if you could read that?
Sure, I wrote, I didn't even know he had the gun.
Again, Judge.
Until,
now she's
Oh,
reading the-
it's a prior consistent statement.
Okay.
All right, you attacked the credibility. The state has a right to introduce prior consistent statements of the witness under the rules. 607. Go ahead, Mr. Shellhorn.
Ms. Kenrick, if you could just continue reading lines 8 to 11. Out loud, please.
I'll start over. I didn't even know he had the gun until he said something and I responded. And like in the middle of my sentence, I was cut off because I just see him pull out the gun.
Now, if you could turn back to page 6 of that transcript,
Yes.
and I'm going to direct your attention to line 14 to 16. Do you see where I'm referring to?
Yes. Page 6, 14, 16.
And can you read those lines? Starting on line 14 with the word "and."
Page 6, this is?
Page 6, line 14, if you can start with the word "and."
Okay. And the minute, like, that word started to come out of my mouth, I just see a gun come out of his pocket, and, like, I was in that second, very second, like, in shock.
Thank you. So, does that clarify whether you saw the gun before Michael Barisone shot you with the gun?
Yes.
Now, continuing on that same paragraph, I think you were asked a series of questions by Mr. Belinkis this morning, and perhaps yesterday, about what happened after you got shot. Do you remember those questions?
Some of them.
Do you remember being asked some of those questions by the detectives when they questioned you in September of 2019?
Some of them.
And again, on page 6 of that statement, specifically on lines 20 to 22, what did you tell them in September of 2019 about what you remembered after you got shot?
Starting line 20 of page 6.
Yes.
Should I start with the word "and" or?
Yes.
Okay. And this is the point where it gets like shady.
Judge, she left out 3 words.
Just read the entire line, if you would, ma'am.
Okay. I took so the sentence before then. Okay.
Just start with "and."
Okay. Start with "and." And this is the point where it gets.
Judge, she's leaving out 3 words.
Judge, do you want a copy? You
Yeah,
can follow.
I don't have a transcript, so I'm lost here.
We're right here, Judge, starting with the word "and."
All right. Starting with "and." All right, go ahead, read.
And this is the point where it gets like.
Where is she leaving it out?
It says, mine says, line 20, and as I ran, at this point.
No, you're looking at the wrong "and." It's the next sentence begins "and" with a capital A. That's what she's,
line? What line?
it's the same line, it's right next to it, line 20.
Page
The
6.
"and" that you're referring to is the line before. She's not leaving it out. She was directed to read that line. Go ahead, read where it begins, ma'am, with a capital "and."
Yes, Your Honor. And this is the point where it gets like shady, because I don't know where the hell I went.
And what was the purpose of you saying that to the detectives the day that they interviewed you in September of 2019? What do you mean by the word shady?
I mean, like, confusing a little bit.
I also wanted to ask you some questions. I don't have any other questions about the transcript right now, Ms. Kanarek, so you can close that up. Judge, if I could have permission to display S210, which I believe is corresponding to D803 that the witness was shown. I take that back. It's not corresponding, but S210 is in evidence.
Yes. S210 will be shown on the screens, please.
Ms. Kanarek, what's S210 a picture of?
The porch, table and chairs.
And what is in the top right of that picture?
A bush.
Can you just, I think the jury probably knows this, but if you just orient them to where that bush is located with respect to the back door.
That bush is in between that little, I guess, mini roof thing and where the tables are. Between there and where the actual porch is, which leads to the front door. And it's only, a couple feet away, maybe 10 at most.
When you described coming out of the house, do you see on S210 the approximate area where you saw the defendant standing?
Yes,
Can you describe that for the jury?
yes. He was, I don't know. So he was standing like sort of in the bush and also at the same time on the other side of the chair, which is not the chair that's in front of the white structure.
Judge,
Not-
I have no reference point. Could we have a point to where she's talking about? She's pointing to her screen.
I don't know if you can try that, ma'am. I'm not sure.
if that'll work.
It may not have been charged up, and it's not effective even when it's fully charged. So, but you can try, see if it
Okay,
works.
it
Just
doesn't work.
just don't shine it in anyone's eyes.
Okay. Sorry if I do. Okay, so where the defendant was standing?
Yes,
Or I-
the approximate area where he was standing. Judge, would it be all right if I go over and point to where that cursor is? So
Yeah,
that Ms.
well,
Kanarek
as
doesn't
long
have-
as, can the jurors see that, especially in the gallery? Can everyone see it? Yes, all right, they see where it is, no need to point. It's a little bit faint, but it shows up on the screen, and it's where the chair is pulled into the table, the light, this is for the record, the light was shined to the left of that, between the chair and the small white structure with a roof. All right, next question.
You were asked a question about a phone on the table. Do you see a phone on the table in this picture?
Now I do, yes.
Are you aware if you or your boyfriend Robert ever had a white Google phone?
Never.
Did you see that phone there on the day that you got shot?
Nope.
Judge, I think we can stipulate that that was Mr. Barisone's phone.
Hold on. 200C, 200C. 47.
47, 200C 47. I could show him money. I don't have, this is.
I have no objection. I'm aware of that.
Judge, may I approach?
Yes.
Ms. Kanarek, I'm showing you what's been marked as 200C 47 for the record. Directing your attention to line 512.
Yes.
Do you remember being asked about what that text message said?
I do not. Oh, yeah, yes, I do.
You remember when Mr. Bolinkis asked you that
Yes,
question?
yes.
I'm going to ask if you could go up to line 505
Sure.
and just read to yourself what that text message says.
Sure. Okay.
Now, I think you were asked the question on cross-examination whether you learned that Michael Barisone was deathly afraid of your father.
Yes.
And you sent that text message to your father?
I sent it. Yes, I did.
After reading the context of the text messages before it, what was the basis for you saying that Michael Barisone was deathly afraid of your father?
The basis for me saying it was that Michael himself said it, or indicated that no one there should hurt me because they shouldn't hurt me because I have a protective father, basically, is what the gist of it is.
So do you mean people at the barn?
Objection as to what she
Right.
means.
Yeah, don't lead her, just ask her what she meant by that, that's all.
Just to clarify, when you say people, in general, are you talking about a person or a group of people?
A group of people.
And what was the group of people in general? With that, you don't have to use specific names, just who in general are you referring to?
Barn staff and one of their parents.
And what was the barn staff and the parents talking about?
Coming to beat me up and punch me in the face and do me bodily harm.
And what did Michael Barisone respond to that after they said to come hurt you and do you bodily harm?
He said, no, no, no. Nope, not with the father like that. That's the wrong way to go about this.
And is it then 2 text messages later that you advised your father that Michael was deathly afraid of him?
Yes.
The last few questions I have for you, I'm not going to ask you about every Facebook post that you ever posted,
Okay.
but I do just want to clarify a few with you, if that's all right.
Sure.
Specifically, you were at... Judge, the Facebook records are 402, so I'm just going to refer to the page numbers. I apologize, I didn't write down all of the exhibit numbers that the defense attorney used.
All right.
So this is S402.
Can I see it?
I'm sorry. So Ms. Kanarek, we'll start with S402, page 968.
Sure.
I think you were asked about that post that you had on August 4th, 2019.
Yes.
And Mr. Bolinkis had asked you questions about certain sentences or certain lines in this specific post.
Yes.
Did he read this entire post in its entirety?
He did not.
Did he leave out a part where you said I also feel that saying certain things to a public audience in some way helps keep me safe.
Yes, I did say that.
Did you say at the end of that post, there's only so much I'm willing to take from any person, anytime, before I unleash every legal resource and recourse that I have?
Yes.
On S402, page 814, I think you were asked a question about this post yesterday on July 27th, 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember being asked about, I think you had said something in that post to the effect of, "This is me, look out, because here I come"?
Yep.
What did you remember that post to be in reference to?
It was an exact quote to The Greatest Showman, and I was basically just quoting that, meaning I, march the beat of my own drum kind of thing, and let's have a night of music kind of thing.
And what's, just in case anyone doesn't know, what's The Greatest Showman?
It's a movie that has songs in it, and I was quoting one of the songs from the soundtrack of that movie.
And did you put the lyrics to that song in quotation marks?
I did.
Did you finish it with TGSM?
Yep, The Greatest Showman.
What did you say after TGSM?
Let's have a night of music. Question mark.
The post before that, which was approximately 20 minutes before, in general, what is that a reference to?
I actually forgot. I have to read it. Another song,
Who's that song by?
Meatloaf.
Is the post after The Greatest Showman post about another 20 minutes later or a half hour later?
Yes.
And what is that post in reference to?
Another song and movie, actually. A song and a movie.
And then the last post I'll ask you about is in S402, page 970. Do you remember being asked about a post you made on August 4th, 2019?
Yes.
This is a post where Mr. Belinkis asked you a series of questions about your gun
Yep.
and how many bullets it had, and yes or no.
Oh, yes.
And I think he finished up at the end here by pointing out that you had something about if something turns violent, you would let someone punch you in the face twice.
Yes.
Did he leave a line out in the middle of that paragraph or that post?
Yes, he did.
What was the words that he left out when he read that post?
The words were, also, luckily, I am not a violent person. I hate confrontations, which seem they could turn violent.
Did he also leave out this line starting with "unfortunately" after you talked about your two guns?
Yes.
What does that line say?
It says, unfortunately, or luckily, they are both in NC,
What is NC?
North Carolina.
Thank you. Judge, I don't have any further questions on redirect.
All right.
I have one, Judge.
Huh?
One question. With regards to D200C-47, where you discussed staff members punching you in the face, isn't the fact, and this is the day before the shooting, that you said you heard Michael say, no, 3 exclamation points, no, 4 exclamation points, no, 4 exclamation points. Did you write that with regards to what my client said regarding any violence towards you?
Yes.
Nothing further.
All right, thank you, ma'am. You may step down. Please don't discuss the case with anyone.
Of course,
All right,
thank you.
very good, thank you. Mr. Shellhorn, it's 12:20. I'll leave it up to you if you want to start at your next witness, or we can take our lunch break a little bit early and start fresh after lunch. I leave it up to you.
If we can do that, Judge, I think that will be perfect.
All right. All right, very good. It's 12:20, ladies and gentlemen. We'll take our lunch and recess. Please return at about 1:20, and we'll resume shortly thereafter. Thank you.